Companies demand 99.9% of uptime. A single mistake in production can cost millions of dollars of client. You cannot afford to make any mistake in a production server, especially when there is a live application running on it. And this has created a gatekeeper's myth that says you need at least 5 years of experience to get into DevOps or to even touch a production cluster. People say that freshers don't get chance to touch the production cluster because they don't have like real time experience. But you know who else get the chance to touch the production cluster? Even their main job is to make sure the cluster is healthy, up to date, upgraded, security hardened. So those people are production support engineers, application support engineers, SREs, and many other teams. Have you ever wondered what a hiring manager looks for in your resume? Is it the number of years of experience that you have, or the power keywords that you have used in your resume, or something else? Let's hear from the industry expert what he has to say.
So to me, a good resume is which has a GitHub link, which has where you can provide a link of a Medium or a hash node where you've written a bunch of documentation,
Mhm.
where I can see your project live. That to me is a solid resume,
Okay.
rather than a 5 pager description all using power words. That time is gone.
Yeah,
So
again.
show me your work is my mantra.
Experience is not a timeline on your resume. It's the proof of work of what you have built. Listen to what Harsh has to say.
I actually started out as an intern at the same firm, and before that, I was working into small freelance projects, and
Mhm.
I did have an open source bounty under my head belt.
If you think it is impossible to get into DevOps role from a non-tech background, listen to what Imran has to say.
So my name is Mohammad Imran, and I'm basically from a city called Panipat, and I'm basically from a civil engineering background. And I recently got my first job as a DevOps engineer in tech in March, and I'm working with a London-based company remotely.
Well, you must be thinking, what if I have a gap of few years? Is DevOps still an ideal choice for me? Well, you should listen to what Akshay has to say.
So I just passed 10 years ago, and my journey is totally different. I didn't listen about this to someone other have this type of journey.
Civil engineers, recent graduates, and career gap survivors. Everyone and anyone could get into DevOps if they follow the right path, if they have patience, if they have the determination of doing something, they can definitely achieve it. And today we break the gate, and I will tell you the exact framework you need to follow that all of these people have followed to break into tech, to break into DevOps, and what will finally help you get hired in 2026. By the way, if you are new here, my name is Piyush, and cloud and DevOps is what I do all day long. I have 13 plus years of experience in IT industry, and for the past 7 8 years I have been working into cloud and DevOps. And my channel is known for simplifying DevOps concepts into bite-sized chunks so that anyone could easily understand it. So if you love watching and practicing no fluff tutorials, end to end videos, then you have come to the right place. And if you are new here, again, make sure you subscribe the channel so that you don't miss any updates from my channel. Let's be real. The reason people say DevOps is not for fresher is because it is not impossible to get into DevOps. It just the learning curve is violent. You have to learn, implement, and understand a lot of things. And it's not just about tooling, it's about the fundamental concepts, it's about the processes, it's about the culture that you have to understand before you even start applying for DevOps role. It is not impossible, but it is not easy path as well for someone who have not worked into tech before or who is just a fresher. Take the example of Akshay. Before he found tech, he failed 6 years continuously in the government exam, which is UPSC. It's a civil service exam, one of the toughest exam in India. He was not just tired, he was broken.
There's no hope of positivity. So totally different time was for me.
If we take example of Imran, he didn't just watch Linux tutorials. He realized that as long as Windows is his safety net, he would never learn Linux.
I just completely uninstalled my Windows, and
Okay.
install Ubuntu as my main
Primary
main
operating.
operating system.
That's the way to do.
Yes, that I will use it and
Mhm.
I will start using it. That's the only way I could learn.
If you want a job, stop trying. Stop trying to learn. Make sure you delete the windows. Make sure you struggle with your daily routine. Make it a daily habit of practicing Linux as your main operating system, not just as a secondary when you have to open it to just practice some commands. No. Stop doing that and start doing the real work on the real operating system. When you face an issue, when you break things, when you fix things, that's when you start learning. So the first part of this video, what we have covered till now, it was most focusing on the mindset that you should have if you want to succeed as a DevOps engineer, especially when you are a fresher. Now in this part, in this section of the video, we're going to talk about the strategy that you have to follow, right? So once you have the mindset, you need the method. Most freshers fail because they get stuck in the tutorial hell. One thing you have to remind yourself that building 10 small projects based on to do apps, based on 10 simple CI CD applications is not something that will get you hired. What you need is one project rule. What do I mean by one project rule? Make one project and make it a big complex monster project, and make sure you have every single DevOps tool and methodologies and processes implemented in that project, from Linux to GitHub. When I say GitHub, I mean host your code, everything on GitHub, implement GitHub flow, GitHub branching, all those things, right? And implement Terraform, CI CD, implement monitoring, alerting, observability, everything in one big monster project. This is what you need. This is what you should have in your resume rather than having 10 small simple projects.
I took a Netflix clone and like used all the tools I have learned in that,
Okay.
prepared a CI/CD pipeline.
Mm.
I introduced like dependency check in it, and then there was like Trivi image scanning, and then like sonar gates, sonar cube I used in that,
Mhm.
and then there were like I used to like all of the tools I learned in that project to like build up CI/CD pipeline and completely deploy it on Kubernetes
Okay.
and using Docker. And one thing is I deployed it twice in my project. One is using Docker and
Okay.
Kubernetes, and then the other one was using Argo CD and EKS
Okay.
cluster.
Mhm.
So it acts like a two-in-one project. So that
Okay.
was the main project which worked for me, I think.
That's
Like
so
I would
amazing.
suggest, like if anyone is looking for projects, try to build projects which has most of the tools covered in one project only,
Mm.
so that you can showcase your skills and in all of your projects with multiple tools. Do
Mhm.
not make like simple projects like deploying a to-do list app using an AWS EC2 cluster
Yes.
and then just one or two Jenkins and one or two tools. It will
Mhm.
just waste your space in your resume and it
Yes.
won't be helpful. Try to build
Definitely.
projects which has all of the tools like production grade, like pipeline,
Mhm.
something to imitate that scenario. For
Mhm.
example, you can have multiple staging environment and then production environment and testing environment. Those are the things. So those kind of projects I would suggest.
Imran didn't just build to do apps, right? He built a Netflix clone, but look closer. It wasn't just a web application. It has DevSecOps, it has Argo CD, it has Quality Gates, it has Sonar Cube, and a lot of other things. Trivi for image scanning. So it was an end to end project that helped him get noticed in front of recruiters, in front of the companies that were looking for a DevOps engineer. So in 2026, your stack should look something like this. So Linux, Python, Git, and GitHub. That should be your foundation. This is must have, non negotiable. And this is from where you should start your journey with. Then networking. Look around yourself. Look at the latest news, all the outages that we have seen recently in 2025, like it's related to AWS or Cloudflare or any other company. It all comes down to one single thing, which is networking. DNS is part of networking, Azure front door is part of networking, your CDN is part of networking. Everything comes down to networking. So you need to understand the end to end networking flow. What happens when a computer tries to communicate another computer over the network, over the internet? Understand OSI model in depth, each and every layer, what all protocols are used, what are their significance, and how do we learn more about it, right? So be curious, learn with the open mind, and try to learn whatever you could about the networking stack in general, like in computer networks, as well as when it comes to cloud networking, because cloud networking also has a similar concept. It's just the name of the services and few other things have changed. Rest is all the same thing. Then Docker and Kubernetes, which is the industry standard these days. Every cloud engineer, every DevOps engineer, most of the companies, I would say more than 90% of the companies and the projects are using Docker and Kubernetes. So it's again a non negotiable, a must have skill these days. Proficiency with one cloud provider, at least either AWS or Azure or GCP. I have published another separate video some time back, and it has a clear breakdown of which cloud you should be learning when you get confused between what cloud to learn out of these three. So in that video I have provided all the answers. So it's not just a matter of A or B or C, like there are many variables that you need to take into account while starting to learn a new cloud. So I have explained everything in that video. Link I will share in the description, so don't worry about it. So after cloud, DevOps is not just about CI CD, right? Or it's not just about Docker and Kubernetes. It's also about observability, end to end monitoring, alerting, and logging. So this is a special part. This is something that you should be having in your project or in your skill set. Then infrastructure as a code. Yes, you have heard it right. Which is Terraform is market leader for IAC these days. So either Terraform or Pulumi, anything would work. But make sure you get a certain level of proficiency in that. Again, create a complex project which has all those things included. Now, you have the mindset, you got the skills. The next part is how you would get hired, right? So, how do you get past the HR, and how your resume will get selected? That demands senior experience. How would you justify that, so you use something called as inception method. So listen to what Savinderji has to say.
So the question is, how do I make you ask the questions that I know the answer of? Right? Have you seen the movie Inception?
Mm-hmm.
So that is planting an idea in somebody else's brain.
Yep.
That is the goal of a good resume. What does that mean?
Okay.
I say I have deployed an application on Kubernetes.
Mm-hmm.
So has a million other people.
Correct.
What is the big deal?
Yep.
Right? But I say I deployed a multi-tier application in Kubernetes which auto scaled 300% in under 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I stopped there.
That's a perfect
Nothing
example.
else.
Yes. Yeah, that's a perfect
Nothing
example.
else.
Yeah.
So what's the question in your mind now? What the heck? How did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
What is the application?
Yes.
Why do you need to scale so fast?
Yeah. Yep.
I haven't answered those questions.
Mm-hmm.
You will ask me those questions.
Yes, and
These are called
and
hooks.
everything around scaling, like auto scaling. Which scaling techniques have you used? Have you implemented? So you already know the question that someone gonna ask after reading that particular line.
I plant the hook in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But to do that, I should have done the work.
correct.
Otherwise, I can't.
Yeah, just writing in the resume won't do anything good.
Won't work.
But let's talk about the gap between your learning and getting paid, right? Most freshers wait for a LinkedIn job posting. Akshay did not. He knew that he had 10 years of gap, so he needed a bridge that helps him get the job, that helps him break into the tech.
What was I'm learning, I was just sharing on Twitter and I was sharing on LinkedIn. So so this help in referrals. Okay,
Mhm.
and there are two three like one two platform are there. So LinkedIn is that there. So I used to search on LinkedIn that what jobs are there. So I
Mhm.
used to study like reverse engineering. Okay, these kind of skills are required, so I used to work on that.
Mhm.
And Naukri.com is also there. I applied for on that also. And third is referrals with the help
Mhm.
of marketing and study. So most of the time LinkedIn and referrals worked for me. So
Okay.
many people just reached out to me after seeing my post on Twitter and LinkedIn. So they just asked to me that if you want to work and that. So I just got chance and I applied many jobs from the LinkedIn, but it didn't work.
He didn't just blast the resume, he targeted specific companies, specific CTOs, and he did cold emailing, he did cold messaging, he went out to the community events, he talked to people, he understood what the company need these days, and he worked on himself. And finally, when he got the reply, it wasn't a six figure high paying job, it was an unpaid internship, but it was just enough for him to get started into tech and started into a DevOps role.
Most people just say that don't do internship without pay, so that internship was unpaid. So I thought, okay, if I will sit in my room and I'm learning, but from the YouTube and other things, I may not get that feel which I can get in the organization. So I
Mhm.
decided to take internship, unpaid internship. So I did.
This is the internship arbitrage. You trade 3 months of free labor for years of career credibility. Akshay used that to land a full time DevOps role just shortly after that, once that internship was completed. He turned a no into yes with a few months of struggle, few months of unpaid internship, but that really helped him get into tech. This journey is going to be hard. I must say, I'm not here to show you dreams. I'm not here to show you something that doesn't exist. The reality is, it's going to be hard and you will want to quit. But remember the math. Most of the people, I would say 80% of the people would just quit and they would say it's not for freshers. But it's good that we have those 80% quitters, because if they won't quit, they will also be in the same line as the rest of the 20%. So we need 80% of those as well, so that 20% of those who believe in themselves, who are consistent, who are hardworking, and who believe in doing everything, they would be succeeded. That's the only difference between winners and losers. Winners trust themselves. They know what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and they follow the path. They follow the system that they have created for themselves. Stay in the 20%. And when anxiety hits, when you are worried about your future, when you are worried about whether I'll be able to get a job into DevOps, or whether you are worried about that AI might take our jobs, anything that is worrisome to you, just remember the click technique. And what is the click technique? Hear what Savinderji has to say.
Because most of the times we are either living in the past
Or in the
or
future.
living in the future,
Yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
a very simple technique to do that is this, which I call the click technique.
Hmm.
So multiple times in a day, whenever you get a moment, do this, snap your fingers and check what are you thinking. And I can promise you 90% you will either be here or there.
Yeah.
You will not be here,
Yep.
right? So check this multiple times in a day,
Hmm.
and slowly, you won't even have to do click. You can tap your table, you can tap your leg, and then you get into a point where it doesn't even have to be physical. In your mind you can check, what am I
Hmm.
thinking.
Yeah.
It's a practice, but
Hmm.
that's what it is.
Okay. But how it is helpful, or how it is important to be in the present rather than in future or in the past?
Because 90% of the problems don't exist in present. It's easier in the
That's
future or in
that's
the
the
past.
perfect answer. Like I did not even expected this, but yes, please go ahead.
That's it, right? All 90% of the problems are
Mm,
kal ye ho gaya to,
mm,
what if this happens tomorrow, or why did this happen to me.
yes.
That's 90% of the
So
problems.
90% of our life problems will be solved if we live in the present, in the present moment.
That's it.
Focus on the next click, the next line of code, the next skill in your to do list. Complete that, and remember, the more you bleed in the practice, the less you bleed in the war. I have linked the roadmap, all the resources, all the videos, and everything in the description. So start bleeding today. I mean, not literally, start bleeding in practice today with the skills, with your determination. And I'll see you in the next one. And I hope the next time you are watching my video, you have a clear mindset, a clear roadmap of what needs to be done. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the best and I will see you soon. Thank you.